Welcome to this episode of DIY3DTech.com. In this episode, what we're going to be doing is 3D printing for solar eclipse. So one of the things you guys might not know about me is, well, I've always been involved in photography, fine art photography, and especially astrophotography. And I tell you what, you want to talk about an expensive hobby, that is an expensive hobby. So I'll put a picture up here in the corner. It's one of my rigs from the past, one of my actually cheaper ones, and that thing probably cost as much as a small car. Astrophotography can get to be a very expensive hobby. And that's one of the reasons I'm not involved that much in it anymore. But I still do have some of the stuff left. And one of the things with the solar eclipse coming up here in August, I wanted to do some images of it. Now, I've shot a lot of solar eclipses in the past. I'm more of a fan of a lunar eclipse. And I'll put a picture of a lunar eclipse that I did, a few years back. I can't remember. I've done several of them. But I just love the blood red moon, and I love, cutting them together, cutting it as they come together. So anyways, I plan on doing, if it's clear out, now I'm in Michigan, we won't get totality here, obviously, but we'll get good enough where it's interesting. So if it's clear, I'm going to try shooting some of that and do a time lapse. And then also I want to do kind of a close-up. So I've got this very nice William Optics 400 millimeter scope here with field flattener that hooks to my DLSR, or one of my DLSRs. And one of the things, I have this from a prior life or experience, this 6-inch visible light solar filter. And now also, forewarning, do not look at the sun during the solar eclipse. Even the only time you technically can look, and I don't suggest it, is even during totality, but it will still blind you. So have the right equipment. And if, Google it, whatever. I'm not here to tell you what the right equipment is. I'm just here to share with you how I'm going to 3D print something to attach this solar filter, which I have from a former 6-inch scope, solar scope I had set up, to this Williams Optics refractor. So, in short, basically the opening of the sun shield is about 85 millimeters, and this is about 145. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to print an adapter ring that will adapt this to this scope and allow it attached like this, so I don't have to buy one of these. They're not too expensive, but by the time I get one and everything else, I just thought this would be a neat project. Also kind of a neat project in how you can kind of take one piece and adapt it to another. In the past, I've done some filter adaptation videos. They weren't too popular. I'm not quite sure why, to adapt photographic filters to like a GoPro camera. I figured with the tons of GoPro cameras out there, it'd be interesting. But anyways, for the solar eclipse, I'm going to do this. Probably after the solar eclipse, if it was clear, I'll come back and share some, videos with you guys, or put something out there and let you guys see them. Anyways, let's go ahead. Let's jump in. I'm going to do this in Tinkercad. So let's go ahead, jump into Tinkercad, and see how this is going to come together. Okay, we're back in the computer. So one of the things we're going to do is we're going to start designing this out. Now, as you notice, I've already brought in 3/4 20 bolts. I'm going to use these to cinch down on the telescope itself. Now, one of the rules I have is when observing the sun, I always want a mechanical connection of all my pieces, because I don't want the wind blowing a piece off and then looking through a viewfinder and being blinded. So I'm going to use these 1/4 20s, and I'll show you how I'm going to use these. But first, where did I get them? I went over to GrabCAD and I downloaded the STL file here for it, and just simply imported it into Tinkercad. So now that I have these 1/4 20s in there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in a cylinder for my base object, and this is going to fill in for the filter, for this sun filter, for the 6-inch sun filter, basically. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pop in, basically, I'm going to go 145. Whoops, if I get it right here, 145, because I'm at 144.5. I want to go, and I don't want to go tall. No, I don't want to go tall. Actually, I'm going to take that back. I'm going to go 144.8. And I'm going to go 144.8. And if I get this in here. 144.8. Why are you being so difficult? Then it decided it wanted to be. Now, the other thing I'm going to do is I'm in the beta of Tinkercad, so I'm going to move up the sizes. I want smooth sides. I hate those rough openings. So now the next thing, now I've got my diameters worked out. You notice I'm 15 millimeters high, and basically my opening is about 28 millimeters high. So I'm going to bump this up to 28. Now what I want to do is I want to use the cone. So I'm going to bring the cone object in. And then I'm also going to bring in a cylinder because I'm going to have an opening of roughly, 84.1 millimeters. So I want to bring this in, and I'm going to say 84. I'm going to make this 84.3. I'm going to give myself a little leeway. And then 84.3 again. And then I'm going to bring this over, and then I'm going to bring this up, and I'm just going to use an arbitrary size for right now. I'm going to turn this into a hole. I want sides, and I'm going to push this down into, so I have a hole, and then I'm going to do my favorite tool is align all this, so this is all nice and good. And now if we look underneath here, what we do is we see we have this knockout. Now you notice I still have this big area. Now one of the things, I'm going to have the lens hood pushed back in, so when you have a lens situation, you have, basically a flare or a funnel, and this is where this guy is going to come in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set his base at about, I'm going to make some guesstimates here, about 130. And I did the height again. I hate that all the time. I mess up and get the height. Just one of the things of life. So again, I'm going to go here, 130. And again, here, 130. And hit enter. And I'm going to bring up my, my sides. And one of the things I want to do is I just want to pull this up. And then I want to bring this into this object here. And part of it is, the reason I put this other circle here is I want to measure this here, kind of cheat a little bit. But first I want to take a look at this. So I want to push this down a little bit so I'm through the other side, sort of like that. It doesn't have to be perfect, or at least I don't think so right at this juncture. And I just want to kind of get all this so I can center this. So this is centered. Now what I'm going to do is click on this cone again. And I'm still pretty much short of everything. So I'm just going to keep pulling this cone out until I hit an angle that's pretty close to coming up to my full circle that I have here. Now I need that other circle for a couple different reasons too. So now I'm going to also click this, and I'm going to turn this guy into a hole. So now this is going to give me a taper. Now the other piece that I need to now do is bring in another circle. So this circle I'm going to bring in over here. I'm going to make him, if I'm about 84, let's just for grins and giggles make him 100. And nope, I did it again. I did it again. Isn't it a Taylor Swift song? I did it again. Oops, I did it again. Anyways, we're gonna make this 100, and I'm gonna pull this over here, and then I want to get my sides up there. All right, come on, pull my sides up. It's gonna start probably getting a little laggy. I want to change the color of this so I can just kind of see what this is. So I'm going to pull this up. I don't want to move it around. I want to pull it up. There we go. And then I want to pull it up in general. So I just have a little bit. And then I want to bring this over into this piece. Now I want to see how. So I have this at about 22. And that's actually quite a bit. I think I'm going to bring this down So let's see. I can cut a little bit out of this. So I'm at, what am I at on this? So I'm at 28. That's what I wanted to be. And now this one, I am at 22, but how high am I? I think I'm at 25, so I've got 20 exposed. I could probably knock this down to, say, 20. And that looks pretty good. I think that'll work. Now what I'm going to do is just kind of highlight all this gobbledygook. I think I got it all, except my bolts. I don't want to highlight my bolts because I want to square all this up. And I think that should be all squared up. And, oh, the other thing I have to do, I almost messed up a little bit here. I want to select this, and where is it, the pull up? I want to pull up. All right, that's perfect. I still have it poking through there. That's why I brought that other piece in like that. All right, so now I am going to go ahead and I'm going to join all this together. And boom, now, so you see I have a flare down here on the bottom that forms into a cone. So I shouldn't have, because I'm going to have the sun shield back, so that should be enough where I'm not going to get any vignetting. Now what I need to do is I need to take these screws, or bolts, sorry, and then what I need to do is turn them around and rotate them. Actually, I should have, well, no, I can still do that, but I just don't want to confuse you guys. So I'm going to bring this at 90. Now what I'm going to do is not that. That is wrong, Joe. That is just plain not right. And then so I'm going to actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to save myself some headache. I'm going to get rid of these. And I should have thought about it before I did that so I didn't confuse you. So, but I didn't. So I'm going to make 3 copies of these at this. Now, what I'm going to do is I am going to insert this, and I'm going to drop this guy, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some 1/4-20 nylons to cinch this to the telescope, and I am going to bring this down, and then what I'm going to do is make sure I get these, and then let's go ahead and do an align. So, all right, so now I got that aligned with that. And now I just need to poke these threads through the other side. I want to see. All right. Now I just need to see how far I'm here. So I want to go up a little bit, and that's about centered. So now I'm going to have to remember this 33. So remember that for me, 33. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this guy into a hole, and then I'm going to highlight and group this. And it's going to have to probably do some thinking. All right, now what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to rotate this, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up my calculator. I think I can probably do this in my head, but so I have 360 degrees. I'm going to, if I find my divide by 3, so 120 degrees. Yep, that's what I thought it was going to be. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to hit the rotate, and why isn't this giving me a number? Where is my rotate number? There's my rotate number. So I'm going to put in negative 120. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring another one of these bolts over here. And, well, actually over here. And then remember you're supposed to remind me of 33. So now I've got it at 33. And so what I was do is want to bring it in here. And I just want to simply capture these two. Let's do another align. And boom, I've got this aligned. So now I'll get rid of the align, and let's turn it into a hole. And we have it as a hole. Let's highlight everything again. I don't think I got the bolt. And so I'm going to do that joint, and there's another hole. And it'll take a minute to think about it because of all the threads. This is going to get to be a kind of a complex object, even though it looks pretty simple. All right, so now I'm got that joint. I'm going to go ahead and reselect this, and then I'm going to enter another negative 120 to rotate it around. And so now, as you see, it's rotated it by 120 degrees. I'm going to bring this in. Remember, I need to go to 33. I'm at 33. I want to do a center on this. So I've got it as a center. Just push this in. I moved it a little bit, so I just want to do a recenter. And so I recentered it, and then boom, we'll turn this one into a hole, and then we're back here. Highlight this, and boom, we're done. So we just need to set this up, and still thinking. There we go. We have all of our holes. So now we can see we have 3 holes. I may have to clean these out with a 1/4-20 tap, but what's going to happen, let's take a look here, is see they're going to have threads in them already. And I'm not going to print this with any supports. So the holes will be a little bit oblong, but I'm going to use 2 shells, and so they'll clean up nicely. So let's go ahead and print this up and see how all this turned out. Okay, welcome back. So we took a look at designing this in Tinkercad. We took a look at printing it out, and here it is. So it actually came out pretty good. So one of the other things I forgot to mention that I did is I left a little bit of room in here to put some Velcro, and it's the soft side of the Velcro, and the idea is this will, if I don't drop it, the idea is this will slide onto here and keep it from scuffing up the telescope, plus hold it you know, nice and tight, light tight. And what'll happen is these 1/4-20s will press against the Velcro and hold it snug to the telescope without marring the telescope. So another little trick. And then what'll happen is this will now just slide over the top of this, sort of like this, and voila. So there we have it. We have our rig all set up for solar observation. So come the solar eclipse, we'll be ready. I haven't quite figured out what I'm going to set up with this, if I'm going to mount a video camera or one of my DSLRs or something, but I'll mount something to it. And I think this came out actually pretty good for a first attempt. A little bit because of the 10% infill. You notice that this guy, some of these are a little bit crooked. I had to chase it with a 1/4-20 tap, but I really liked how it came out with the screws versus, you know, putting the screw threads in, because what happened with the screw threads, I do want to talk about that for a second. It gave it more of a wall to work with than if I would have just made a hole, if that makes sense. So you know, because around that whole thing, I basically, because I printed it at 2 shells, so I had, you know, 0.6 millimeters of plastic around it. So it worked better than if I just had a hole, you know, because I also had the 0.6 around each one of the threads, and obviously as the threads cut at an angle. So long story short, I ended up with more plastic, which is a good thing. So even though it wasn't clean enough to thread the bolt in, it made it an easier job to chase it with the tap. So I recommend that. That's the first time I really did that like that and had it come out actually so nice. But it did end up a little bit crooked because of the way it came out in the other side in the only 10% infill. I think if I did like a 20 to a 40% infill, it would have done better. But it came out actually pretty good like this. So I'll let you guys know how this works out, so stay tuned. Also, don't forget, Swag Shop up there, subscribe over there, hit me up in the comments below what you think, and hey, we'll catch you guys in the next episode. Cheers.
Please click like below and subscribe to the channel.